Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having a seat, turning your cell phones on silent or vibrate. And at this time, we will go ahead and begin our September the 12th school board meeting. Good evening, school board members, CCPS families, students, staff, and the Caroline community. I, Dr. Jawanda Rollins-Fells, Chair of the Board, would like to call the September 12th, 2022 school board meeting to order. It is my privilege to welcome those of you who are attending in person at Caroline Middle School, as well as those who are viewing on our CCPS YouTube channel. Each provides you with an avenue to receive information, have heightened education, awareness, and involvement. The school board is grateful for your attendance as we continue to move our school division in a forward direction as #OneCaroline. Again, welcome to the school board meeting, and now I would like to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Mr. Adam Swanton, Student School Board Representative. Mrs. Nancy Carson, representing the Mattaponi District. Mr. Sean Kelly, representing the Madison District. Dr. Jawanda Rollins-Fells, representing the Reedy Church District. Dr. Sarah Calverick, Superintendent of Schools. Mr. George Spalding, representing the Bowling Green District. Mr. John Copeland, representing the Western Caroline District. Mr. Calvin Taylor, representing the Port Royal District, and I'm Lisa Stevens, Clerk of the Board. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
The meeting is in order. At this time, I'd ask Mr. Spalding to please lead us in our invocation, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance from our Caroline High School students.
Please stand.
You all look wonderful in your uniforms, and that's a
Yes.
special shout out to our high school CNA program. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the September 12th agenda.
So moved.
The motion has been made and properly second. Any discussion?
Second.
Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mr. Spalding, Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Mrs. Carson,
Aye.
Mr. Taylor, Mr. Copeland, Dr. Rollins-Fells.
Aye, the motion carries. The agenda is approved. We will now move to our Achieve 2027 Spotlight. At this time, I'd ask Mr. Wick to please come forward with the Health and Safety Enforce 911 and Stop It app updates. Mr. Wick.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Mr. Kelly, the rest of the school board, and Dr. Calverick. Tonight we are going to learn about a couple of apps we have in the school division that help improve safety. And I will begin with the Enforce 911 Technology Emergency Notification System. So Enforce 911 is a threat alert and communication platform that allows school staff to immediately send emergency alerts to law enforcement and other staff in the building. Since expedience is crucial in ending a crisis situation, this app reduces response time to an active threat. In addition to notifying others, the app allows users to communicate and share details of the incident as it is happening. This screen kind of shows you the process. to make an alert. And in this case, when installed on a smartphone, staff will see the app logo. That's the first screen on the far left. And I kind of enlarged it for you there so you can see what it looks like. They touch that logo, which opens the alert screen. This screen allows the user to choose from several alerts: active shooter, intruder, or medical emergency. Then they choose their location from the location screen, which is the fourth item up on the screen. Most staff only have their building to choose from, but those who have access to multiple buildings can choose from all of those locations. Once the location is selected, the screen on the right appears. When this pops up, an alert will be sent in a maximum of 10 seconds, but a user can tap Confirm Alert to send it immediately. At the same time, the alert can be canceled before the 10-second clock expires. Once that alert is sent, staff with Enforce 911 on their phone will receive an alert tone notifying them of the alert and to activate lockdown protocol. The screen shows the date and time of the alert, the school, the teacher who sent the alert, and the location. This screen allows any staff who have received the alert to communicate with responders if it is safe to do so. Of course, responders also receive this same screen on which they can communicate, which we'll see on the next slide. When an event is taking place, as mentioned, any staff and responders can communicate. Messages from the school are in red, while those from responders are in blue. Staff can communicate information regarding who, what, and where regarding a threat if this information is known. Responders can also ask questions or provide other information. When an alert is active, schools follow lockdown procedures. Again, the benefit of Enforce 911 is to permit immediate notification of a crisis so school staff can activate lockdown procedures, and so law enforcement and/or first responders can respond expeditiously to contain a crisis as quickly as possible. The next app CCPS subscribes to is the Stop It Anonymous Reporting app. This app is for student use, and the schools provided a letter to parents and students promoting the app and showing them how to download it on their phone. School counselors are also promoting the app in schools. This is also very simple to use. Here, the student simply taps the Stop It icon, which opens the Submit a Tip screen, which you see on the right. The next screen that pops up is on the left. The student chooses from a list of incidents that he or she wants to report. Answers a few questions about the incident, which you can see in the middle screen, then submits by tapping the green button at the bottom of that screen. The student receives a confirmation once submission occurs. So as you can see, very simple, very quick. This slide shows what the counselors and administrators receive at the school when an incident is submitted. The box on the left allows them to view the incident report, and the box on the right shows the information contained in the report. As you can see, there's a great deal of information there. School staff can add notes, update the information, and ask questions of the reporter, also anonymously from this page. Key word, this is anonymous reporting. The student name is not known at any time during this report. An activity log allows staff to update and provide new information on an incident, as well as provide closure to the case. This page is accessible by all counselors and administrators in a school. Stop It provides 24/7 notification if a student submits an incident outside of school hours, on weekends, and during holidays. So as you can see, these apps are simple for students and staff to use, allowing CCPS to better manage a variety of crises. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Copeland?
Do I understand correctly that the software and reporting does not collect the electronic serial numbers or other specific identifying numbers from devices that sent it?
Are you referring to the anonymous reporting app, or both of them, or the Enforce 111? Stop It does not collect any personal information. It does not. It's completely anonymous. You're welcome.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Wick? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Wick.
Thank you.
At this time, we will begin our awards, recognitions, and commendations. And at this time, I would ask Ms. Kim Young to please come forward with our opening school video and successes.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. We are almost a month into the school year, and so many great things have already happened. So here is a short video I put together that captures some of the highlights. I hope you enjoy it.
That was awesome. Thank you, Ms. Young, for putting that together and all those that helped with that project. At this time, we will have Dr. Calveric come forward as she presents her Superintendent Art Honor.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Mr. Kelly, and members of the board. Exposure to art is critical to the development of every child. Art not only teaches students how to express themselves in creative and individual ways, but students who participate in regular art-related activities perform better academically, develop greater confidence, and sharpen their fine motor skills. Beyond these benefits, art education promotes problem solving, critical thinking, perseverance, growth mindset, collaboration, focus, and accountability. All power skills CCPS graduates need to be 3E ready: enrolled, employed, and/or enlisted. In cooperation with Caroline County Public School art teachers, I am recognizing one student each month with a certificate of honor for their individual artwork. The student's art will be on display at the school board office for the remainder of the month. Ms. Katie Bolts, art teacher from the high school, will now introduce the September 2022 recipient of the Student Art Honor Award to Ms. Jaden Ferguson. Ms. Bolt and Ms. Ferguson, please come forward to the podium at this time.
Hello, I'm happy to present Jaden Ferguson. Jaden is an amazing art student. They're a senior this year. They excel in graphic arts as well as the fine arts. Jaden has taken participation in the young entrepreneurial programs that the county has offered. They are also a star track member that went to states last year. So we're expecting big things for Jaden in college or an art career, whatever they choose to do in the future.
So Jaden's our track star art historian. Is that our budding Olympic track star art historian, right?
Congratulations, Ms. Ferguson. Job well done. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
The motion has been made and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mr. Copeland?
Aye.
Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding? Dr. Rollins Fells?
Aye, the consent agenda is approved. We will now move into our information from the district section of our agenda, where we will ask Mr. Wick to please come forward with our Attendance Awareness Month information.
Good evening once again. Chair Dr. Rollins Fells, Vice Chair Mr. Kelly, rest of the school board, and Dr. Calveric. As we know, school attendance is essential to academic success, but too often stakeholders do not realize how quickly both excused and unexcused absences can lead to academic trouble. Chronic absenteeism, or missing 17 days during a school year, which translates to only 2 days per month, can inhibit students' ability to master reading, cause pupils to fail courses, and lead teenagers to drop out of high school. This month marks the 10th annual Attendance Awareness Month campaign, providing an opportunity to emphasize the importance of school attendance and its instrumental role regarding academic achievement. Reducing chronic absenteeism is a priority throughout the year in Caroline County Public Schools. School administrators, attendance clerks, counselors, social workers, family engagement coordinators, and teachers promote the importance of good attendance on a daily basis. Schools are focusing on this initiative in the following ways. Schools seek to connect with all students and promote a positive environment that students want to be part of. Attendance clerks educate parents by mailing letters and the attendance policy to parents. Social workers and counselors counsel students and parents on making attendance a priority. Family engagement coordinators and social workers create attendance plans for students who need them. Schools work with social services, court services, and the FAP team to improve attendance. Certain members of the team will go on home visits to help students and parents understand the importance of attendance and to encourage it. Schools use incentives, guidance lessons, and friendly competitions to promote attendance. And finally, schools can also reference the Department of Education's 12-module resource titled Attendance and Truancy Among Virginia Students to gain insight on current practices, as well as new methods to address chronic absenteeism.
Mr. Wick, if there are parents who are not familiar with the attendance policy, where can we direct them for a refresher?
I would direct them to their attendance clerk at their particular school, and that can be emailed or mailed to them.
Outstanding. And all of the attendance requirements were also included in the Student Code of Conduct. So
That is correct. That's another good point. That Student Code of Conduct is online and has been issued in some schools.
outstanding. Thank you, Mr. Wick.
Could I ask a
Thank you.
question?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And this concerns me. I'm all for going to visit. I think that's a great thing to do. But I'm also concerned about safety. This is a new day. And you know, years ago, you could just knock on a door and talk to parents. And hopefully you can still do that. But I guess my concern is the safety for those people who are going out into homes and just making sure somehow that they're in a safe situation. And I don't know if you've talked about that, or I'm sure you have, but.
Well, that is a valid concern, and when schools visit a home, it is never by a single person. It's always at least two people who do visit that home. Oftentimes, if not every time, the parent has been contacted by phone
That was a
or in
question.
some
I had.
way, so it's not a surprise visit. We just
Okay.
don't show up and say, hey, how you doing?
Okay.
We're from the school. But at the same time, your concern is valid and well taken, so we may review that procedure as well.
Okay, thank you. I just want you to be careful out there.
Thank you for that concern. And an additional layer of safety that the high school has employed is the use of the big yellow school bus. When the big yellow school bus rolls up in front of a house, it adds validity to the visit at the home, and parents recognize that the people coming to speak with them are representatives from the school division. So marked cars, in addition to pre-setting dates and going in pairs, are all ideal, as well as our work with Dr. Steve Constantino, who is our convocation speaker. We are working through his business as well as our family engagement coordinators to create protocols for family visits that will help support consistency and robust conversation while there.
Dr. Calvert, Mr. Wick, if there's a home visit that educators or staff know is a potential place for, either has been a place in the past of violence, home violence, or anything like that, have we made arrangements with the sheriff's department to let them know that we're going there ahead of time?
We have not consulted with the sheriff's department before any visits.
Or just the ones in particular, where
Sure,
the
sure.
propensity for some sort of situation that'll take it pear-shaped on you.
In that case, if there's that type of safety concern, the visit has not been conducted, and we have not included the sheriff's department in any such visits.
I think an important message and why you're presenting on the agenda is to raise awareness in the community that attendance is a serious issue. It is something that we are being proactive about. And if there is an issue or a trend developing, please just manage your expectation that the school system will be reaching out, whether that's through the attendance clerk or email or contact information. And so if you don't desire to have individuals come to your home, please make sure that your contact information is up to date. But know that in that event, we are coming with the purest of intent of supporting you and finding out what type of help you need. And so I think that's the takeaway message for the community.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Wick.
Thank you.
And thank you, board members, for your important safety questions. At this time, we'd ask Ms. Haley to please come forward with our school spotlight on Bowling Green Elementary.
Great evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair, Mr. Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. This evening, the Bowling Green Elementary Administration and I would like to spotlight academic plans and updates that are in motion to ensure greater student achievement and overall success for Bowling Green Elementary School in the 2022-23 school year and beyond. The Virginia Department of Education released accreditation for the 22-23 school year. Bowling Green exceeded the benchmark for academic achievement for all students in the areas of English with 78.9% pass rate and math at 78% pass rate with growth rate percentages included. However, in the area of science, we had a 57.7% pass rate, which included a trailing average. While we exceeded the targets set forth for English and math, our science scores were more than 10% below the benchmark. Academic plans to address science and other content areas focused to Bowling Green's 3 big rocks this year: structures, science plans and emphasis on Tier 1 instruction, and instructional monitoring plans. Principal Hextall and Assistant Principal Mrs. Thomas will provide greater insights. Ms. Hextall?
Good evening. While we recognize that structure and consistency are key components of elementary education, it allows teachers to create a framework for what they want their students to learn and how they should go about doing so. While we have always had structures at Bowling Green Elementary, we intentionally went into this school year focusing on how we maintain and/or enhance them with the highest level of fidelity. We began with our master schedule, ensuring the time allotted for each core area was maintained, while also fostering best practices of cross-curricular teaching and learning. We place emphasis on bell-to-bell instruction, reducing downtime during transitions, and engaging students every moment in and outside the classroom. Specifically in the area of science, our Division Science Instructional Specialist is now based out of our school, and a science plan is a comprehensive part of our continuous improvement plan, which is required by the Virginia Department of Education as part of the academic review process. Our structure will include a continuous review of lesson plans and administrative feedback to teachers with goals to align to the written, taught, and assessed curriculum, from the planning phase all the way to instructional delivery and reflection. While we have always had professional learning communities, we are maintaining best practice expectations in this area 2 to 3 times a week. Improvement plans. BGE's Continuous School Improvement School-Wide Plan will be a fluid document that will be updated frequently as we analyze to gauge success. Our goal is to adopt, adapt, or abandon strategies and plans based on measures. First and foremost, we begin with alignment of the curriculum, the written, taught, and tested, ensuring that our Tier 1 instruction is solid. We have embedded weekly professional development as an intentional reset to support teaching and learning. We also have a solid science plan as part of our continuous improvement plan to ensure that this content and area of growth receive priority in our daily instruction K through 5. We recently were awarded the ARP Summer Learning Grant funds to host a before and after school program. These funds will support our most at-promise learners and aid in their increased academic growth and overall success. Ms. Thomas.
The Comprehensive School Improvement Plan is comprised of essential actions that drive school improvement efforts. The focus for us this year, for the 2022-23 school year, is on instructional leadership and classroom lesson evaluation. An observation schedule has been developed and a process for lesson plan feedback implemented to ensure alignment. Our PLC agendas and notes will be utilized to reflect data-driven conversations around identified needs. Next steps will be determined based on data and feedback through district SST meetings. The administration and instructional team will reflect and reassess needs, priorities, and strategies as part of the continuous cycle. To improve, we plan to ask more frequently, what are we trying to accomplish? What changes can result in greater improvement? And how will we know that a change is an improvement? Our success measures. Working through these questions helps us to identify needs, priorities, and essential actions. Success measures will include progress monitoring through the use of common assessments. Growth assessments and daily formative assessments will be utilized to track student progress and update improvement plans as needed. Use of school-wide programs such as Dreambox, Reflex, Generation Genius, EPIC, and STEM Scopes will be monitored and reviewed for effectiveness and to provide more hands-on interactive experiences in the classroom. Along with BGE administration, other methods of observation, support, and data monitoring are currently in place to include our district SST team, elementary learning walks, vertical articulation and meetings, and peer observations. Haley?
Thank you. The Bowling Green administration and staff have already made significant strides in these steps to reset and refresh structures, instructional practices, progress monitoring, and measures of success. We are confident in the team's ability to meet their goals of growth for every student, preschool through 5th grade, their greater achievement, overall achievement, and certainly full accreditation this school year. Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
Are there any questions comes from the board? Okay, hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
We will have Mrs. Foster to come forward at this time with our 2022-23 CCPS staffing update. Good evening, Ms. Foster.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Carson, members of the board, Dr. Calveric. This evening, I'm here to provide you information associated with CCPS staffing for the 22-23 school year. My focus tonight will be to provide you with a vacancy update, prior year comparison information for fills to date, an update on substitutes, and our department's continued efforts to ensure fully staffed operations and instruction. First, I will begin with our current vacancy overview. The vacancies on this table reflect unfilled FTE positions within our 6 campuses. These are positions that are not filled by teachers or temporary teachers, instructional assistants, or others. BGE actually has 2 teacher vacancies in 2nd and 5th. Lewis and Clark Elementary has 2 in 2nd and 5th. Madison, 3rd and 5th, and there's an anticipated kindergarten position with applicants already in the pool. Caroline Middle School has 2 science and 1 math class filled by qualified long-term substitutes, and Caroline High School has 1 school counselor and 1 school nurse that's coming up. Currently, for our school counselor, we are working with VDOE, which is providing allowances to fill school counseling positions with those who hold an LCSW or an LPC, which we are actively inviting applicants to come and see if we can get them an alternative pathway. And the school nurse position does require an RN, which we are reaching out to RNs in our community, both full-time as well as retirees. We currently have all classes filled with an FTE, a temporary teacher, or a highly qualified long-term substitute. Our goal is for our long-term substitutes serving in the role of teachers to be there actually being supported by our new teacher support coaches as they are in various places on a pathway to becoming eligible for degrees and licensure. So part of our growing our own program within the division. On this next table, you will see level vacancies for this year compared to last year, the number of positions filled to date, the number of remaining vacancies, and the percent of vacancies needed to be filled. Please note that Lotus Academy was fully staffed at the start of the year. However, due to unforeseen circumstances, there was a separation in staff, and we do have applicants for the teaching position. As you will see, the number of vacancies across all levels has decreased for this school year compared to school year 22, with a 4% decrease in fulfillment rates leading to a 4% decrease in remaining vacancies. So a lot of great work by our staff, our departments, instruction, operations, as well as our building level leaders. Next, we'll look at vacancies by departments. Comparing vacancies from last year to this year by department, you will see increases in vacancies in maintenance and transportation. There has been a 4% decrease fill in our maintenance rate. However, I do know that our maintenance department has been steadily interviewing and has candidates that should be moving forward in the near future. There's been an increase in food services of 9%, and there's been a 22% increase of our fill rates for our transportation department for this school year. Departments continue to interview and fill these vacancies with new candidates applying on a weekly basis. And all of our department leaders are in contact with human resources to ensure screening is occurring quickly, and we are getting through our onboarding and background check process in an effective and efficient manner. Next, I'll focus on substitutes. During the 22-23 school year, when contracting substitutes, we had a very small substitute pool after the pandemic, probably about a dozen. This year, we've started the school year with 37 active substitute teachers, with another 51 in various stages of the pipeline, which includes fingerprinting, background checks, onboarding, and training. By hiring substitutes directly, we were able to increase our pool, leading to an increase in fill rate. Additionally, by hiring directly, we are able to provide increased compensation and be more competitive with our surrounding districts for substitute teachers and instructional assistants with a daily rate of $110 and $93. Furthermore, working with our federal programs department, CCPS was able to addend our ESSER 3 grant to reallocate money to provide building-based permanent floater subs for this school year to support unfilled absences, support hallway and meal supervision, provide extra classroom coverage, and to fill classrooms enabling peer observations for teachers, which our principals were provided last week in their principal memo. So they're already in the process of hiring those permanent floater subs that are grant funded. As you know, recruitment and hiring has become a continuous process. In addition to ensuring that we are getting the right people in the right seats, we are continuing to actively recruit qualified candidates for this school year, as well as begin to build our pool of candidates for next year, believe it or not. Providing continuous new teacher support through our new teacher support coaches, as well as have new teacher academies for our first and second year teachers. We are continuing to create pathways to grow our own through hiring of temporary teachers and supporting continuing education for paras to teachers, as well as provide support for alternative pathways for career switchers. We will begin developing cohort opportunities for specialty positions such as math and reading coaches, and we are increasing training opportunities and support for our substitute teacher. In all of these, our goal is to attract, support, and retain excellent instruction and operation staff who support the safety and learning of all students. Finally, we continue to increase partnerships with colleges and universities, as well as our community, to increase a highly qualified and diversified applicant pool. Thank you, and at this time, do you have any questions?
Are there any questions from board members?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Spalding?
On the, excuse me, on the long-term substitutes, if we can't find a licensed teacher for that position, do we keep them all year or as long, or till we find someone? Or?
Yes, so we are able to, the state recognizes the state and national shortage for teachers, so we are able to have a long-term substitute be in that role for 180 days, so for the entire school year. So that is a new allowance for divisions. The current long-term substitutes we have in place, some of them we are in the process of helping them finish up their degree, so we can bring them on either as a temporary teacher next year or as a teacher that is eligible for licensure. There are some long-term substitutes, though. We still have all of the vacancies posted, so if there is a qualified licensed teacher that is more suitable for that position, we would hire that position and have that licensed staff member.
Currently, the Code of Virginia permits a long-term substitute to be in place for 90 days. Upon completion of that 90-day window or just prior to, the Human Resources Office must submit an application for waiver by individual. So it is labor intensive, but it is flexibility that all divisions across the Commonwealth have been utilizing.
I had a follow-up question about the long-term subs.
Certainly.
Are they encouraged or required to attend our PD?
So they are encouraged. So our long-term subs that began the year for vacancies that we were not able to find a suitable candidate, they did come to our new teacher week, as well as we're working during our teacher week. So they are participating in professional learning during the school day, as well as the other opportunities. Our long-term substitutes too are being supported by our new teacher support coaches, because we want to assure that they are getting that same level of support, because we want them to be just as effective, if not more, than our licensed teachers.
Which leads me to my second question about monitoring quality instruction in those classes. Can you
Yes,
talk more
so
about
our principals have requested that our long-term substitutes be put into our teacher evaluation system, so they can go ahead and document evaluations the same way that they do for our probationary teachers. Because our long-term substitutes are now employed by CCPS, we are able to do that where we would not have been able to before.
Very good. I like the concept of growing our own, and I know a parent concern would be quality instruction with long-term subs.
Absolutely, and during those SST meetings that are occurring on a regular basis with our schools, all teachers, including our long-term subs, are being looked, or their students are being looked at in terms of data with student achievement.
Outstanding. And I think I asked you this at each board meeting, because there's a lot of our community that may not check the website, but they watch this board meeting. So where would you direct them to go if they are interested in maintenance, food service, classroom teaching, and transportation?
The easiest way for me to announce it and broadcast it on our YouTube channel right now is if you go to workincaroline.com. That will take you to our human resources page, and there is a link to all of our job opportunities.
Outstanding. So if you know someone, refer someone.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Mrs. Foster. Mr. Copeland?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Our subcontractors were ESS for the substitute teachers, and I'm pleased we're going back in-house. I've never been a proponent of subbing out something so sensitive, but were there any other factors, maybe you've told me and I've forgotten, other than the COVID crisis and their inability or apparent inability to recruit people that was an overriding decision to shift back and start doing it in-house once more?
There were a variety of reasons. I can't talk to you specifically about some of the exact data points or contractual components associated with the decision. However, what we did know is we needed to build our basis of subs. A lot of people that were employed by our previous third-party vendor were employed also with other divisions who were paying at a higher rate. And so we know that to be able to be competitive and to pay at a higher rate, that was something that we would need to bring them back to Caroline to do because of the additional expenditure for using a third-party vendor.
Well, that's one of those unintended consequences of having a subcontractor that you don't plan on, but suddenly it's there, and then you lose that benefit because you've subbed. And in-house is certainly the best way to do all this. And I wasn't intending to ask for specific information. Just yes, they did other things that were worthy of us terminating their contract, other than just COVID-related issues.
Sure. I think the biggest thing for us is when we look at wanting to grow our own people, those who are here that are living in Caroline or close to Caroline, by having them be CCPS employees, we're better able to do that by providing support and guidance to that pathway to whatever occupational field that they want to continue to be employed with us at.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, I just have a couple of questions. Our substitutes, are we filling them according to schools? Do the principals do that according to our individual schools, or how are they being filled?
They are filled. We actually utilize the same platform that our substitute management system was before. We had to go ahead and reanimate that and put pull all of our local data into that. But our substitutes have a variety of ways to accept jobs, as well as our principals have a variety of ways to reach out. It is an auto dial for substitutes, so we are not picking up the phone on a regular basis unless there's not a fill and somebody's going to check in on a substitute. Our substitutes are actually able to look at the absences 24/7 on an app or online, and then our building level principals, because the substitutes are now our employees, they have all of their CCPS emails, so they can do some outreach as well. Or one of the best ways to do it is to see if there's a substitute available the next day as they are leaving the building. So there are a plethora of ways to get the word out to substitutes, and we are seeing an increase in fill rate here at the beginning of the year.
Okay, and how do we compare as far as pay with the neighboring school divisions?
Last year, I would say that we were not competitive. This year, I would say that we are very competitive with our neighboring divisions and actually ahead of one or two.
Okay, thank you.
And that's all we'll give them before they start recruiting ourselves.
Absolutely, yes. I'll arm wrestle them for it.
Yes, as you take your seat, I just want to say thank you for the work that HR has been doing, and also to our building level administrators. And I know we're excited about having new recruits, but I think this is a moment to honor those that have stuck with us and who have stayed in this division. And so just thank you to all involved, and thank you to our committed staff.
Absolutely, thank you.
At this time, we'll have Marcia Stevens to come forward with our school activity fund audit results.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Before you tonight on your stand, there are 3 documents from the auditors. I will go over briefly and touch points, but that is there for your reading pleasure, as I know some of you will love to see the financial numbers. So first off, I will go over just the letter from the auditor. There are several professional standards in which they are required to communicate to the board in relation to the audit. So it is the letter that I'm referring to. So if you would just review those matters, it's just simply saying if they encountered any difficulties during the audit, in which there were none, if they had any corrected or uncorrected misstatements in the audit, which there were none, any disagreements with management, there were none. So I won't belabor it. Those are their professional standards in which they must report to you all in that letter. You have 2 bound copies. One is comments on internal control, which I will focus mostly on tonight, and the other one is the financial report that has every detailed account for every school as of June 30th. I will note that last year the audit report was done on an accrual basis because we have to have the financial statements placed on the consolidated financial audit report with the county. However, the auditors do believe this year that they want it to do cash, and they believe that is the best in representing these. So I am working with the school bookkeepers to make that transition from cash basis to accrual basis, which is very immaterial on the school activity funds, but we will be noting it on the accrual basis on the consolidated financial audit report when we are completed with that. If I can draw your attention specifically to the internal control report, and I'm going to start on page 3. With us having a new auditor this year, I was very pleased with the audit results. We were expecting some audit comments in which we have to make improvements. So I will just go over general comments. They're typically found in the school activity audits. They are material weaknesses. One is cash receipts. Just showing the decentralized nature of cash collection. We only have one bookkeeper in each school, so it's not really practical for our schools to be able to have that desegregation or that segregation of the cash receipts. It is a very common situation among school activity funds. They just have to note it in the audit report. The other one is, again, segregation of duties as a material weakness, with the cash receipts, the cash disbursements, and all phases of the transaction. Again, coming back to the limited number of staff in the schools, proper segregation cannot be established and maintained. So we continue to watch over theirs, ensure that we have controls in place to hopefully eliminate any of those concerns that we have. But with having one bookkeeper in a school, those are comments that we typically have. On page 4 is Caroline High School. There were 3 audit comments this year. I will just briefly explain. There was a bank reconciliation one about having the principal sign the actual bank rec before it is completed in the system. Management's response is on there. It is the same as we will see this comment repeated throughout a few of our schools. The management response is the principal will now sign that bank statement prior to giving it to the bookkeeper for the reconciliation to take place on the system. In disbursements, there was noted on several disbursements at the high school that the same person that signed the check was who the check was written to. So we have a requirement of 2 signatures on the check, so therefore they know that they are to, and have immediately put this into place, that when a check is written to either the principal, assistant principal, or the bookkeeper, another person is to sign the check, the other 2 people. For instance, if it's made out to the principal, the assistant principal and the bookkeeper will sign that check. And then the last one is a negative balance. There was a very small negative balance of $10 in the tennis account. We cannot go into the year end with those negative balances, so it has been zeroed out and rectified, and it is now no longer a negative balance. Caroline Middle School has the same for the bank reconciliation comment on page 5. Bowling Green, there were no comments this year on page 6. Lewis and Clark, there were no comments this year on page 7. And Madison Elementary has the same bank reconciliation on page 8. So those are our internal control comments. I have asked that each of the principals review them, everyone's comments, so they can ensure that maybe the auditor didn't pick it up at one school and it wasn't really happening that way at that school. So we just ensure that we're doing it so they don't come in next year and find those same findings. Dr. Reed and Mrs. Haley has also been provided these, and they will communicate with their principals as follow-up to ensure they are also working on those internal controls. Are there any questions on that? It's a little more detailed this year with us having a new auditor, but I wanted in full transparency to go over all the findings, and I am very pleased with the audit this year.
I would like something cleared up on page 4, combined statement of recorded cash receipts and disbursements and so forth. Our balance last year at the end of the year was, you can see it there, almost $400,000. And then at the end column there, it says the balance as of June 22, right? Does that money go back to the schools or what?
This money is all held at the schools, so if they each have an individual bank account. So the monies that you see as of June 30th, 2022 is the monies that's raised by the school. So in the athletics and the picture money and the yearbook monies, all of those monies are raised at the school level, and they maintain the money for the students at that school location. It does not come to the central office for funding, and it does not go to the normal appropriations in our district-wide financial statements that are governed with the Board of Supervisors.
So activity funds are not counted into this?
Correct. Activity funds are held at the individual school. It is collected from the students and the parents for these activities.
Yes, the activity funds are in there. Those are the
But
activities.
my point is, do the schools get this money this year?
This money is held at the school
Right.
in their bank account for their students' uses.
They got it right now.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions from Ms. Stevens on the audit findings? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you. At this time, I'd ask Ms. Haley to please come forward with our literacy update.
Great evening. Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fels, Vice Chair, Mr. Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. It is a pleasure to provide state and division updates in the area of literacy. This evening, our instructional specialist, Kim Hayslip, and special education literacy coordinator, Natalie Tuck, will provide a high-level overview of literacy awareness, the essential components of the recently passed Virginia Literacy Act, and our division's response and progress. House Bill 319 and Senate Bill 616, both known as the Virginia Literacy Act, passed unanimously out of the 2022 General Assembly. This Virginia Literacy Act is a comprehensive, multi-pronged approach for ensuring evidence-based literacy instruction, and is implemented in all early learning classrooms. The provisions of the Act become effective beginning with the 24-25 school year. Overview and major components of the Virginia Literacy Act include definitions. The Act establishes a definition of evidence-based literacy instruction and science-based reading instruction, terms that serve as the basis of the bill's new and amended requirements. The Act also includes provisions for 5 other areas. In the area of instruction and intervention programs, it requires both the instructional and intervention programs in grades K through 3 be aligned with science-based reading research, as set forth in the division-wide literacy plan, which is part of the division-wide comprehensive plan. The Act maintains the current screening model to identify students with reading deficiencies, and those students identified as in the need of intervention services must have those services documented in a student reading plan. It also ensures parents are engaged in the development of the student reading plans and have access to resources to support literacy development at home. The other area is the Literacy Act includes staffing requirements. It adds that a division-wide staffing ratio of 1 reading specialist per 550 students in K3 be allotted. In addition, there is a professional development and training requirement where principals and certain teachers will be provided with professional development and training in science-based reading research and evidence-based literacy instruction. The fourth area is teacher licensure. The Act stipulates that the literacy assessment for initial licensure or alternative routes to licensure with certain endorsements include a rigorous test of science-based reading research and evidence-based literacy instruction. The Act also requires that every person seeking initial licensure with certain endorsements complete study in science-based reading research and evidence-based literacy instruction. It establishes a micro-credential program for earning an add-on reading specialist endorsement. And lastly is the educator preparation component. The Act requires any educator preparation program providing coursework and or training for certain endorsements or certifications ensure the candidates have a program of coursework and demonstrate mastery in science-based reading, research, and evidence-based literacy instruction. Woo, improving literacy. Virginia is taking the lead nationwide to reverse downward trends in reading and to improve early literacy outcomes for Virginia's youngest learners. The Virginia Literacy Act will use the foundation of science-based reading research and evidence-based literacy instruction to prepare and provision pre-service and current teachers to align curricular, screening, and intervention methods. It will provide ongoing professional development and ensure collaboration with families. So what is the science of reading? As we begin, it is important to bring clear definition to the terms that are significant focal points in the Virginia Literacy Act. First, the science of reading is scientifically evidenced research about how reading is developed and processed, including effective instructional practices that support learning to read and write. The components of the science of reading include a comprehensive and integrated structured literacy approach when teaching. This includes instruction in phonemic awareness and phonics to develop automatic word recognition along with fluency, vocabulary, and language comprehension. Essentially, the science of reading is the converging evidence of what matters most and what works in literacy instruction, organized around models that describe how and why. Ms. Hayslip will now bring further awareness on structured literacy.
Structured literacy is an approach that uses explicit, systematic teaching that focuses on phonemic awareness, word recognition, phonics and decoding, spelling, and syntax at the sentence and paragraph levels. The term was coined by the International Dyslexia Association. Principles of effective structured literacy instruction include explicit instruction, systematic and cumulative curriculum, differentiation,
opportunities for practice and feedback, and effective instructional strategies. Structured literacy focuses on the explicit teaching of systematic word identification and decoding strategies. Structured literacy is beneficial for all students, but critical for struggling readers. CCPS initiatives and responses. CCPS is committed to engaging in a strategic response to the requirements of the VLA, not only in terms of compliance, but as a continuation of the effort to provide the highest quality literacy instruction possible for our students and the professional development to ensure that high quality instruction can occur. This and the following 4 slides will help us to detail what is happening in the division in terms of literacy professional development and training and programs to support structured literacy.
The Virginia Department of Education supports 8 training and technical assistance centers located at universities across the Commonwealth of Virginia to improve educational opportunities and contribute to the success of students and youth with disabilities birth through age 22. William and Mary TTAC is responsible for providing training support to Region 3 and evidence-based reading initiatives. TTAC partnered with CCPS during the 1920 school year, providing structured literacy training in the area of phonological awareness and phonics. That year, special education representatives from Caroline Middle School and each of the elementary schools participated in 36 hours of intensive professional development, followed by an ongoing community of practice across Region 3. An additional 10 teachers participated in the Region 3 cohort for the 2020-2021 school year. In the 2021-22 school year, CCPS paired with William and Mary TTAC to bring training to the county. Training included special education teachers of reading from all 3 elementary schools, CMS and CHS. Currently, 25 CCPS special educators have received structured literacy training. Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling, otherwise known as LETTERS, developed by Dr. Louisa Moats and Dr. Kara Tolman, provides teachers with the skills they need to master the fundamentals of reading instruction, phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, writing, and language. This course is intended to strengthen teachers' knowledge of language structure, including phonology, syllable types, morphology, spelling generalizations, semantics, and syntax, while showing how each correlates with the development of the reading brain to produce skilled, proficient readers. This past spring, the VDOE Dyslexia Office offered an opportunity to small rural school divisions to enroll 5 participants in the LETTERS course at no cost. CCPS was able to take full advantage of this fantastic opportunity and has 5 participants in the culminating stages of the expedited course. This cohort includes 3 reading specialist coaches, 1 special education coordinator, and 1 instructional specialist. VDOE has offered to provide 10 additional slots for the Volume 1 course during the 22-23 school year. The curriculum and instruction and special education teams are currently collaborating to recruit participants for the next cohort that will begin in January. Participants will include kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade general education teachers from each elementary school. In order to support the structured literacy initiative in the special education setting, our department launched the SPIRE curriculum during the 21-22 school year. SPIRE is utilized by special education teachers as an instructional tool for specially designed instruction for identified students in grades K through 8. It is an intensive reading intervention program that systematically builds reading skills through explicit, multisensory lessons that are teacher-led and data-driven. SPIRE employs all elements of structured literacy, including phonology, sound syllable association, syllables, morphology, syntax, and semantics, while incorporating research-proven best practices for reading and language development.
Heggerty Phonemic Awareness focuses on teaching students to hear and manipulate the sounds of language. It is a program made up of a series of explicit systematic lessons during which students isolate and blend sounds, segment words, segment words into sounds, and manipulate sounds in words. The lessons are oral and auditory. The Heggerty program can exist and be used alongside any phonics instruction or program. A benefit to the Heggerty program is that it provides teachers with a firm way to provide intentional, explicit, and systematic instruction in the area of phonemic awareness versus treating those skills incidentally. During the 21-22 school year, Heggerty Phonemic Awareness was piloted at Lewis and Clark Elementary by the reading specialist Brittany Kirby and the first grade team. Based on the success of the pilot and the knowledge that Heggerty is an evidence-based program targeting phonemic awareness instruction, implementation was expanded for the 22-23 school year to include all kindergarten, first, and second grade classrooms. Also this year, reading specialists and coaches will be utilizing the intervention component of Heggerty called Bridge the Gap. The Bridge the Gap curriculum is a series of systematic phonemic awareness intervention lessons for students in second grade and above. The lessons can be used in small groups or with individual students who struggle to decode words automatically. These lessons were written to provide teachers, reading specialists, and interventionists with a simplified curriculum for teaching phonological and phonemic awareness skills with targeted instruction based on student need. Depending on need, the lessons may be followed with phonics instruction and connected reading of text. Reading specialists will also be provisioned, or have also been provisioned, with decodable text to support the Heggerty lessons. This series was created to provide students with opportunities for connected text reading and application of skills during intervention. The texts encourage students to attend to the sounds and patterns in words rather than looking at pictures or guessing words from context. This set of books can be implemented in combination with Bridge the Gap phonemic awareness intervention lessons. In addition to Heggerty Bridge the Gap and other intervention resources already in place, reading specialists and coaches will also use assessment and instructional resources from Sharon Walpole's work on differentiated reading instruction. Heggerty will also be added to the pre-K lineup in October, with training taking place on October 17th. We're excited to see the positive impact our teachers will make with Heggerty as a Tier 1 instructional tool in pre-K through second grades, as well as in the intervention setting. Next steps in literacy. Looking forward, next steps for CCPS will include the initiation of a textbook adoption process for elementary grades. The timeline will be dependent on the VDOE's action and timetable on building and running a process to identify best-in-class evidence-based literacy instructional materials and professional development providers. The division will also participate in the VDOE Bridging the Gap initiative, not to be confused with Heggerty Bridge the Gap, relative to the process for addressing and implementing individual reading plans. Additional support we should expect from VDOE in 22-23 includes developing guidelines and tools for supporting students who have not yet met reading benchmarks, using a specific reading plan, providing statewide training for reading specialists beginning in summer 2023, developing guidance and tools for divisions to build their own literacy plans. In 23-24, the VDOE and divisions will take additional steps to prepare for full implementation of the Virginia Literacy Act by 24-25. The following actions are expected to occur during 23-24. A second VDOE process to identify best-in-class instructional materials focused on supplemental and intervention materials. Release of a calendar by VDOE
of annual VLA data collection and reporting, along with sample templates. Division participation to include specified teachers and principals in statewide training options in evidence-based literacy instruction and science-based reading research beginning summer 2024. And educator preparation programs will begin to institute these shifts and provide additional information and technical support. By 24-25, school teams, inclusive of parents, will work collaboratively to develop individual reading plans for students receiving reading intervention services, and divisions around the state, including CCPS, will be in full compliance with the provisions of the Virginia Literacy Act. Thank you so much for this opportunity for our team to bring awareness to literacy plans at the state and division level. Are there any questions that we can answer at this time?
Are there any questions from other board members? I do have a question. Is the requirements that were included in the act, was there funding attached to that, or is this an unfunded mandate?
There is funding attached to some pieces, though I can't state those off the top of my head, but that information is specified to some degree in the act itself.
Awesome.
And that is linked in the presentation, I believe.
Okay. How does the Heggerty program sit beside Words Their Way?
So right now, Words Their Way is our differentiated option for providing spelling, phonics, and vocabulary instruction in the classroom. So it can live alongside alongside Heggerty seamlessly. And our hope, I don't want to get too far ahead of the game, but our hope down the road is that whatever we look at in terms of the adoption will include a very robust Tier 1 phonics piece that will also be able to live beside Heggerty.
You're on my path of thought.
Correct.
And Ms. Haley, I think this is more directed to you. As we talk about new programs coming on board, is there a cycle to do an audit so that we know what programs are working, and in just plain speech, we don't end up with 50 programs and then it's overwhelming to a teacher to implement any of that with fidelity?
Yes, we do conduct an audit annually, and so that will blend right nicely when we get an additional programs to continue to do that.
Thank you. And thank you for the work that you all are doing with literacy.
Can I ask a piggyback question to that?
I'm sorry, yes, sir, Mr.
Do
Copeland?
you audit those, is there an annual audit for the programs to see which ones indeed work in that period, and sort of an after-action type of arrangement, or do you go back and just look and review them when trouble appears?
No, we have an annual process in which we survey all of our programs, how they're working. We get that information directly from our teachers. In addition to that, we also meet with our program reps. And so if we have, for example, Dreambox that works alongside to support us with our math literacy program, we meet with that representative on an annual basis. They share with us data on usage of the program, and we make informed decisions in that manner. In regards to our literacy program, based on the data that we saw with Heggerty being piloted at Lewis and Clark Elementary School, it was a no-brainer to bring that on and spread the wealth K2. And next year we will actually be adding it, well, within this year we'll add it for pre-K as well. Our students made substantial gains.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes, we also made STAR adjustments based on data as well. Historically, we usually had STAR assessments in our grade levels 1 through 8. We made adjustments to that based on the data that we were getting, and also the impact from the state with bringing on the growth assessments. We didn't want to assess our students. So we changed that out. We now have a requirement for STAR assessments at the first and second grade level with math and reading. And then we have the rest of the grade levels, second through eighth, that is based on need. And it's primarily used with our students with disabilities and students who are at promise in different areas and need progress monitoring continuously.
I appreciate you breaking that down, especially for me and for the folks listening, parents that are listening. They may have a better understanding of just exactly what we're testing and what we're not testing, and data we're collecting and not collecting, and why. And I think they may take some comfort to know that we determine there are things that we don't do after the end, and assessments we don't do for students and for our staff. So thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you.
Rollins-Fells, I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
wanted to respond to one thing that you mentioned in terms of having a lot of different programs that would be difficult to manage for teachers. That's one of the pieces that we will be paying very close attention to once DOE releases the best-in-class approved list of instructional materials, to make sure that whatever we move forward with is comprehensive and connected, so that all pieces fit together nicely and seamlessly and make the job of the ELA teacher more manageable overall.
Outstanding. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, I'd ask Dr. Carter to come forward with an update on our special education indicators and next steps. Dr. Carter, good evening.
Good evening, Chair Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Tonight, I will provide condensed information about the VDOE special education indicators. In board docs, I placed the more detailed information. The important thing to know is that these most recently released indicators were from 2020-2021, and I will also share our results for instruction and compliance. I would like to take you down a quick walk down memory lane for the 2021 school year. Schools were mostly closed. Learning was virtual. Some students came into learning hubs to access internet and other supports. Much of special education and related services were delivered in a virtual format, and for those students with intensive support needs who came to learn in person, the timing and format and environment of their learning was very altered. This was an unusual year, to say the least. The indicator results you'll hear tonight are a reflection of that year. We are proud of many of the things you'll hear tonight, and we have much work to do. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, requires each state to report to the public on a state level and individual school divisions to report on the division level data and to report on whether the state and the divisions met state targets described in the state's special education annual performance report. School divisions are required to submit information and data for reporting, monitoring, and compliance purposes each year. But as you can see, the results come out 2 school years behind. Okay, so on your screen, you'll see a list of areas examined through the performance indicators for special education in Virginia. Some of these are federally required monitoring, and some of them are state required. I would like to share with you a few highlights from our indicator list, highlighted in the color green. Our dropout rate for students with disabilities was lower than the state target, something we can be very proud of. We have the majority of our students with disabilities learning alongside their peers in general education classrooms and all along the continuum of services. We are meeting timelines for smoothly transitioning students serviced from our local infant-toddler program, welcoming our smallest learners, some even this year not quite turning 2 when school started. And we also proud to say that we did not have any disproportionate representation of any group eligible for services or in any category of special education. The first yellow bullet is the indicator for students with disabilities graduating with a standard diploma. The state target was 70.74%, and we achieved 69.23%. Oh, so close, right? But on my report, it says no, we did not meet the target. We are educating our students in the least restrictive environment and offer a wide continuum of services for our students. Our preschool outcomes are improving with success in supporting behavior and improving language communication, as well as social emotional outcomes for our students served by early childhood special education. And those are separated out for preschool and for school age. So I wanted to target those ones that we were very close to achieving in preschool. We met 94% of our timelines for eligibility. The state target for that is always 100%. And given that our students were not readily accessible to us, that 94% is something we can be proud of. Our school psychologists and other professionals worked very hard to meet those timelines during that time. The teams have worked very hard to ensure that our oldest learners, ages 14 and up, consider a transition plan for when they leave high school with the ultimate goal of being enlisted, enrolled, or employed. All other areas marked in yellow were at or near the state average in at least a partial capacity. Even though we did not meet the state target, we were significantly impacted by circumstances surrounding instruction during the 2021 school year. All those 20s are getting us tonight. Indicated in red are two of the areas we will continue to target in the Department of Special Education. The first is performance in both reading and math for students with disabilities. The second is a disproportionate rate of suspension of students with disabilities. But remember, given that there was a disproportionate number of students with disabilities who were in buildings that year, it is likely correlated to circumstances surrounding the pandemic. And I know I keep saying that, but that is something that we are not usually disproportionate in. The parent involvement rating is marked green on your screen, but we missed that target as well. And I called the state to ask about that. We have always been green in that area, always. And so I called to ask, and it's based on a survey that goes out to families. We send it out electronically, we send it out in paper copy, and parents complete it or not and send it in. And I think this particular year, it is possible that so many surveys were going out and students weren't physically here to take them home in their book bags. So I did want to note that change. And I think I colored it green in my presentation because that one is something that we're always green in. And do anticipate being green when we get our results from last year and this year. All right, so to establish our priorities, our special education team has identified the priorities, of course, of improving performance of students with disabilities in reading and math. The ticket, we know in research, indicates again and again is high quality instruction in the classroom. Intensive, individualized instruction that specifically targets the identified needs and impact of disability of our students must be a priority. You have just heard about the reading initiatives that target the science of reading for all students and the curriculum that meets that criteria that has already been underway in special education. We are now similarly targeting math with an evidence-based curriculum called Moving with Math. This curriculum has been identified to support learning differences as well as target essential skills that may have been missed. This program will be purchased and professional development will be scheduled to support an implementation of this curriculum to roll out the second semester for targeted students who receive special education services. A third priority is supporting behavior to prevent the need for suspension of students with disabilities. When our proactive efforts are not sufficient, we must consider alternatives to suspension that both teach and are restorative in nature. This year, 2 resources have been provided to each building to support the consideration of research-based restorative practices that align with our positive behavioral interventions and supports initiatives. Ongoing discussions at principals' roundtables and assistant principals' roundtables will target restorative practice opportunities. All of these 3 priorities align with Goal 1 and Goal 3 of Achieve 2027. And to close, one of my favorite books, Great Instruction, Great Achievement for Students with Disabilities, states that to make our instruction great, it must be guided by performance standards, must be rigorous and research-based, engaging and exciting, assessed continually to guide further instruction, and tailored in flexible groups. And those are all words and themes you have heard repeatedly tonight. Our priority is nothing less than great instruction for our great students. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions at this time?
Are there any questions from the board?
Thank
No
you.
questions. Thank you for your report. At this time, I'd ask Ms. Doreen Flint to please come forward with our monthly updates on revenues, expenditures, and ADM, and officially welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric, and I will be presenting the post-year and August financial reports tonight. Post-year operating revenues are $1,520,194.21, and year-to-date, $48,055,604.58, or 100.49%. Special fund revenues for post-year are $579,255.67, and year-to-date is $6,363,215.57, or 41.89%. The operating expenditures for post-year are $2,539,522.99. The year-to-date total is $47,024,795.90, or 98.33%. Special fund expenditures for post-year are $530,236.42. Year-to-date, $5,975,033.51, or 39.34%. FY22 invoices are no longer being processed in the fiscal year, and the finance team is currently completing the final closeout of the year in preparation of the annual school report and the preparation of year-end audit packets. At this time, we are still awaiting some grant revenues to be received that are awaiting approvals at DDOE. Any questions on post-year revenues and expenditures? No?
Reconciliation, at what point are we reconciled to the county?
Hold on, it's down here a little bit further.
We can go to it when you get to that part in your presentation then.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, no additional financial reports have been received from the county since our last board meeting, which reported that we are preliminarily balanced with the county through May for reports that were received on July 26th. So no updates there.
Okay, but no outstanding invoices for post-year?
Not at this point.
Not
No,
at this time.
We're done with post-year invoices.
Outstanding, okay.
Okay, for August, operating revenues are $1,958,303.91. Year-to-date is $7,771,484.58, or 14.49%. Special fund revenues for August are $54,650.74, and year-to-date is $83,467.49, or 0.55%. Operating expenditures for August are $3,779,296.11, and total August expenditures are $5,387,459.65, or 10.5%. Special fund expenditures for August is $829,849.31, and year-to-date is $1,181,737.92, or 7.77%. Any questions about August revenues or expenditures?
Hearing none, you can proceed.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to ADM report. The ADM report tonight is very brief. The ADM is for the month of August was $4,175.693. This is for the first partial month as school started on August 15th. For FY23, we budgeted using an ADM of $4,040, and we will monitor that on a monthly basis. Any questions on ADM? No?
Any questions?
I have a quick one. I know it's September is when we report to the state, right? At the end of September?
The end of yes,
Okay.
the 30th.
So ADM, because I know there's a lot of times that there's kids on the roll that after, I'm just not sure what the policy is. I think it's 15 days, right, that they get dropped if they're not in school.
Yes.
Enrolled, yeah, if they like are no show to school. Okay, and but does that number reflect those students who have been dropped already?
The ADM.
Mr. Kelly, more than likely the reports for August are not showing those
Okay,
students dropped out.
that's what I
for
figured
15
because it seems really high. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. It's
that's
very preliminary.
all right.
I wouldn't hang my hat on that.
I'm
number
not.
quite
I'm
yet.
not. But I just wanted to make sure before I started smiling.
And we report the ADM as of March 31st. I know you
Well,
said
I
September,
know,
so the
but
annual school report is September.
I know. We take our best guess.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for your report and update on our financials. At this time, the Caroline County School Board welcomes public comments during our regular meeting and public hearings. Speakers may address an item on the board meeting agenda tonight or an item that is not on the agenda. All comments should address a matter related to Caroline County Public Schools and should not address an issue related to an individual student or a personnel matter. Each speaker may speak for up to 3 minutes. Once you see the red light on the traffic light positioned in front of the board clerk, please make your last statement. Once you come up to the lectern, if you have not signed in with the clerk, please complete the appearance request form, state your name and your district. The school board expects that each speaker will be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully disagree with others' views. Speakers will address their comments to the entire school board and not to one individual board member, nor the superintendent, a staff member, or anyone in the audience. At this time, the clerk will call the names of those who have signed up prior to the meeting. At this time, Ms. Stevens.
We have Mr. David Jenkins, who would like to speak on behalf of the band.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Jenkins.
Good evening, David Jenkins, Port Royal District. I have no kids in school per se. I have grandchildren in school at this point. About 20 years ago, I was very active in the Music Boosters, and I now have learned that there's still issues going on, at least in one school, with funding of the music program. They're having fundraise for basic necessities, music, reeds, valve oil, instrument repair. They are sharing instruments between the two secondary schools. And I really don't think this qualifies for your board's mission statement of inclusion for all. During the renovations of the high school, it's been brought to my attention the auditorium was left untouched. Now, I know we're into history, but we need to update things. I mean, look right next to it, and the secondary gym was built, but nothing for the arts program, which apparently we do support the arts now. So that is why I'm here, asking that it be looked into. It may be an issue on the school level of instructional money not being proportioned out, or the instructor not realizing she needs to stand up and yell for it. And the other issue I would like to question is, since marching band is part of the Virginia High School Athletic Program League, does Title IX apply to that, and are they being shortchanged in funding? And I'd like the answers, and I'll probably be back next month for them, I hope. Any questions?
Well, thank you, Mr. Jenkins, for your comment. I just need to manage your expectations. This is a time where we will hear you out. I have taken notes, and our leadership in the room have taken notes of your comments and
Okay.
concerns as well, and we will follow up with you directly on that program. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Outstanding. Is there anyone else that has a public comment at this time? Okay. Mrs. Stevens, did we have anyone else to sign in? Outstanding. Since there are no additional comments, the citizens' comment period is now closed. We have one action item this evening, and I'd ask that Dr. Monroe please come forward with our calendar revisions.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. This evening, I will share revisions to the 2022-2023 instructional calendar that will include 4 corrections and provide clarity on paraprofessional work days. I would like to state that these revisions do not impact any holidays or the events listed on the actual calendar. However, in addition, these corrections in no way impact the number of required school days or seat hours needed for verified credit. There were simply a few errors in the notes that are on the margins of the 2022-2023 instructional calendar that required correction, and all required work days for paraprofessionals were not listed on the initial released calendar that's normally on the back or the second page of our calendar. First, to provide clarity to paraprofessional work days. Paraprofessionals work full days on all student days, plus 8 work PD days, which are 8/8, 8/9, 8/10, 8/11, 8/12, 10/17, 2/17/23, and 5/26/23. That has been added to the second page of the calendar. And on the margin, there are 4 edits. The 17 student days for quarter 2 in November was corrected to read 18 student days for quarter 2 in November. Next, the calendar will be corrected to read 12 student days in December instead of 11 and a half student days in December. The next correction was January has 4 days in the second quarter instead of 5 days. And April has 14 student and teacher days instead of 15. Those 4 are also reflected on the calendar that you see behind you. In the red strike was what was released, and underneath it is the correction. Are there any questions at this time?
Yes, let me ask a clarifying question. So what is visually represented on the map is correct? But
Right,
the
all of the
notes
numbers,
on
all of the
second page-
numbers, right, up there now are correct. The corrections were on the margin.
Okay.
Can we, because I'm on that committee with you, so yeah, so could we just blame Ms. Carson then? She's going to blame
that
me
would
if
be
I don't blame
no.
her first. No, thank you for pointing this out, Dr. Monroe.
Well, I thank the team. You know, our teamwork makes the dream work. And the wrong edit, there was about, there were several, but somehow that one edit was the one that got on our website. So we fixed it. Once it was identified, then we fixed it.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move for approval of the adjustments to the paraprofessionals contract days in the 2022-2023 calendar as presented.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
School board may approve for 12-month employees the winter break and the spring break. Is that in your motion there, Mr. Kelly?
I think we did that before when we approved the original calendar. We added those days then.
We may approve it.
We did approve it, if memory serves. Yeah, Nancy, I'm sorry, Ms. Carson made that motion.
Pardon?
Ms. Carson made that motion the last time we adopted the previous calendar that had the errors on it that we are going to fix this evening. So I don't think we need to make that motion again.
That motion is never noted on the master calendar. That is an internal messaging that goes to all 12-month employees. But it is not something that is captured on the instructional calendar.
So to be clear, we have a motion on the table with a second to approve this with the updates. In discussion, there is no need to correct the notation here, and it has already been approved when we adopted the calendar.
Pardon me.
It's already been approved when we adopted the calendar.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, so if there's no other discussion, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mr. Copeland?
Aye.
Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. And we'll put Mr. Kelly on the QA/QC committee.
Thank you.
At this time, the floor is open for board comments and committee reports. And I generally start to my right and work my way down. Mr. Taylor, board comments or committee reports?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to reiterate how well I believe the opening went. I was at the middle school and also at Lewis and Clark, and both schools seem to be doing quite well. What I saw seemed to be very smooth, and the kids seemed to be happy and ready to come back. And the teachers, I don't know if they were as happy as the kids, but they were not crying. So I think it was good. And the only other thing is, one other meeting we had, I talked about the Freelance Star and positive news, and then I read about the Lotus Academy. So I've been telling everybody that I'm the reason that got in there because of what I said. But
You're
we,
gaslighting everybody, too.
yeah, we know about
Don't push it,
that.
Mr. Taylor, for you being there for another reason.
But anyway, I thought that was very good, and I appreciate that. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yes, sir. Mr. Copeland?
I'll comment most of this evening. Thank you.
Outstanding. Mr. Spalding?
Yes, I usually don't say anything. I would like to thank the principals and their staff and so forth for really getting off to a good start. I was over at Madison. Where's my partner? Oh, right there, Miss Haley and I really enjoy watching those little kids come in and backpacks are bigger than they are, and you can't even see them half the time. And I love those. That's my favorite age, right there. So appreciate you getting off to a good start. The other thing I wanted to do was congratulate the athletic teams out at the high school. I noticed in the paper, they'll win, they'll lose, they'll win, but the main thing is they're winning. And the varsity football team broke a 22-game losing streak. And I've been waiting for 2 years for that to happen. And I haven't been able to express my opinion to Coach Johnson, but I saw things out there the other night, and actually I saw them in the first night, that I hadn't seen in a couple of years. And they look like a football team. Plus, there was something else that was pointed out to me. The spirit of the school was so much better than I've seen it in the past few years. I don't know how Mr. Just knows more about this than I do, but it just seemed like there was more electricity out there than I've seen in a while. So anyway, congratulations all around, and we got to get this one Friday night.
Thank you, Mr. Spalding. Mr. Kelly?
No reports yet. The AAC meets September the 27th. I encourage, that's athletic activities, the committee. That's always a lot of fun. That's 3:30 on the 27th in the high school library. Anybody who wants to show up can show up. It's great. I mean, more people there, better ideas. You can get in. The block party was an absolute smashing success. And I was so happy to see so many people there, not just like teachers, but central office staff, administrators, followed, of course, by not just a win, but I think it's a blowout win. But like Coach said, there were a lot of people in the stands. You saw a lot of kids in the stands, and there was a lot of smiles on the faces, and the game was close. And that's my favorite part, is going there with the community and sitting down with people that I don't normally get to socialize with, because we only have one high school in our county, and it brings in everybody. And I really like, and I always said for a long time, my favorite thing is to sit next to people who Coach Spalding used to coach and just hear the stories about him. Thanks for the presentations this evening on the plan, especially Bowling Green. I think we've all sat through the VSBA development, and when we go to those training sessions, and they always say the same thing, the most important thing you can have as a school division is a plan. You've got to have a plan, and you've got to stick with the plan, and you got to stick with the people that are implementing that plan. That's the best part, is knowing that we have that, it's in place, and I can see at the schools progress that's already being made, so thank you for that. I love the financial report new format. This is so much easier to read, and it's very aesthetically pleasing to open it up and see it in that format. YMCA after school is getting ready to start, and I'd like to thank the YMCA for what they're trying to implement with youth sports in the county and get more kids involved in after-school programs, get more activities for them, because I think we all know that the more active they are, the better they're going to be inside the school as well. Madam Chair, that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Ms. Carson?
I would like to say the welcome back at CHS, the opening of the school, I thought the crowd control and the way you all had worked the parking lot for all the parent drop-off, it was the smoothest I've seen in 3 years that I've been doing that, the welcome back. And the kids, I mean, you got to start a lot earlier this year than you have in past years, so it just kudos to your team and all that went into planning that. And I'm going to piggyback on the high school football game the other night. I was talking to one of the biggest supporters I know, Leslie Scott, in the community. He goes to every basketball game away, home, football game away, home, and he even said, Nancy, this is the biggest crowd I've seen since the 90s. And so kudos to the coach and all the people who came out, and it was the best win in a long time, and everybody was pretty much hoarse when they left the game, I think. I was also excited. We had a meeting last week with Mr. Wick about a new mentorship program, and Mr. Copeland was there, and myself and Mr. Copeland's wife. And if you're interested in helping to mentor a student this year from pre-K through 12, Mr. Wick can hook you up. We're going to have a couple more meetings, and we had a pretty good turnout. He had 2 meetings the other day. Kudos to our teams and the wins. And I saw something really exciting last night on Facebook. This year, there's going to be a Holiday Hoops Classic, Caroline versus the Carmel School. the JV team and the varsity team on December 16th. And that might be something to really bring a big crowd out. I don't remember us doing that in a long time, if they've ever done it before. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carson. Mr. Swan.
As far as football goes, we play this Friday for our homecoming game at home against King William. That starts at 7. JV plays this Wednesday at King William at 6. Other football games coming up this month include Culpeper on the 23rd and Eastern View on the 30th, both at 7 p.m. The homecoming dance takes place this Saturday at 7, I believe. And I also wanted to extend a thank you to the organizers of the block party for doing an amazing job.
Thank you, Mr. Swanton. My comments this evening, first of all, a big kudos and thank you to all of our staff and our admin team for a smooth start to the day. I was fortunate to be at Bowling Green Elementary and saw the kiddos coming off of the bus and the returning students, taking the lead on knowing where to go and ushering some of the new ones. I have a kindergartner this year who walked right by me and headed to his class. He's such a big boy, and so it's an exciting time to be a parent at Bowling Green Elementary as well. So kudos to the Husky family. On that note, last month I did a push of encouragement for families to please pay your dues for the PTA. I think it's $8 for a family. That is a small contribution that has a high yield on return. So please join the PTA. On Saturday, I started my day at the Ladysmith Advanced Auto Parts, where the football team and there were several other volunteers came, and they smartly executed a car wash. Instead of one at a time, they had 4 or 5 vehicles parked, and they just had a system worked out. So I was able to get my vehicle clean, so thank you for that. And then Coach with his family was over frying some fish, so I was able to eat as well. Don't judge me, it was good. With that, I wanted to also give an invitation for folks to come out to homecoming. Make sure that you support like we did the last time. And at homecoming, I know we're speaking a lot about Coach tonight, but I saw that his family was present and they had the Johnson Crew t-shirts. And I thought, how cool is that to support the coach? And how cool is that when we get behind our students and we have families supporting in that way as well. So please come on out and support homecoming. In terms of board activities and committee reports, I did attend the VSBA Board of Directors meeting that was held in Charlottesville. At that meeting, we had the opportunity to have a one-on-one with the State Superintendent of Education and learn about some of the activities up close and personal. In that meeting, there were 2 points in time where at the state level, Caroline County was referenced, and so I was very proud about that. Upcoming, I will be attending the VPost Board of Directors meeting, and that is an organization that looks at safe places and effective use of out-of-school time. I also have a note here to say a special thank you to our food service team, our transportation team, and our maintenance team. We know that you do a lot of work behind the scenes and you are a crucial part to our success, so thank you. I have gotten some phone calls in regard to transportation just to say thank you for sending the alerts. It's so helpful for parents to be informed. And so I just wanted to say kudos directly to you and your staff in that regard. Those are my announcements and thank yous. Guys, let's have a great school year. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Calveric.
Thank you. A number of my items have already been said, so I will do my very best to be brief. I do want to thank Lodge 125 and Tau Row chapter of Omega Psi Phi for greeting CMS students on the first day of the 22-23 school year. Additionally, a big shout out to all of our business and community partnerships that helped the CMS CHS Block Party be such a tremendous success. There were over 50 partners present, providing food, fun, haircuts, hand sanitizer, and so many more giveaways. We could not do that without Miss Ashley Ward's leadership from the high school, as well as Miss Kimberly Young, who assisted with partnerships. Mark your calendars. September 26th is National Family Day. Join Caroline County Public Schools in a rousing game of community kickball from 5:30 to 7 at a location nearest you. We are coming into the communities at 5 locations: Low Massey Park in Dawn, Lotus Academy in Lady Smith, St. John's Church in Woodford, CHS Baseball Stadium in Bowling Green, and St. Peter's in Port Royal. Again, that is September 26th from 5:30 to 7, and there will be snacks and drinks provided by, yet again, our partners in education. We're continuing to accept applications for the CCPS Mentor Program that was mentioned by Ms. Carson this evening. But an additional data point for awareness, we are looking for at least 25 mentors. That would allow us to do 5 mentee-mentor pairings per school, and currently we have 12 registered. Let me repeat that. We are looking to hit at least 25 mentors, and currently we have 12 registered. So get online and fill out that brief application, and Mr. Wick will call you with more information. I will continue with the theme associated with football. Please do come out and support the homecoming game against King William on Friday. The game begins at 7, but also be on the lookout for a flyer associated with CCPS Football Spirit Nights. We will be giving every elementary student a free ticket to the game. They need to be accompanied by an adult, of course. However, Bowling Green Spirit Night is scheduled for September 23rd. Madison Elementary is scheduled for October 14th, and Lewis and Clark is scheduled for October 21st. Rounding out this process is CMS, and CMS will be receiving a free ticket for fall athletics and clubs. And again, anyone under the age of 13 must be supervised, but we look forward to having a large cheering section for our athletes. That is it. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Calveric. Please pardon me, I forgot to make an announcement. On September the 25th, there will be a Power of One Victory Walk at Caroline High School. The community is asked to come out and support that. A portion of the proceeds will be going back to the Boosters Club that will support equipment and feeding our athletes. So you are invited to come to that event as well. So that will be on Sunday, September the 25th, and you can find your tickets on Eventbrite. With that, the chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session for the discussion of compensation, school improvement, appointments, resignations, reclassifications, requests for family medical leave, stipends, coaches, discipline hearing, the superintendent's contract as authorized by section 2.2-3711, subsection A, part 1 of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended.
So moved.
The motion has been made and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Copeland?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding? Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. We will now go into closed session. Thank you for those of you who have joined us this evening.